So, tell me what you do.
All right. I run a YouTube channel where currently I cover contemporary conflicts, currently ongoing conflicts, through a map perspective. Um, in my circles, that's called mapping, and basically you can watch in relatively real time how wars and such are developing on the map. Previously, I've made all sorts of mapping videos. It's been history, such as the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, the Viking Age, different aspects of World War II, and also fictional and alternate history, such as Game of Thrones, Star Wars, and Skyrim, and such. So that's pretty much what I do. YouTube mapping videos.
And roughly how long have you been doing it?
Uh, a little less than 12 years now. I started back in 2014, August to be specific. And it started off basically in on a on a warm summer day. I was home alone and bored, and I played around with maps on the computer, drew my own maps, and had this idea to basically make a very rudimentary, I guess you could call it a glorified slideshow of the territorial expansion of Russia. And I made it into a video and I published it, and it got like 13 views, and I thought that was quite a lot. So I continued with the history of Sweden and then the United States and Turkey, and all of a sudden it was like 300 views, and that gave me motivation, and it was really fun, and it just grew from there. And obviously I liked it, so I was able to continue through all these years, and now it's turned into something completely different than what it started off as.
Yeah, I kind of want to start focusing on uh your supposed coverage of different conflicts. Um, and I'm kind of interested like why you started doing that.
Covering the contemporary conflicts, you mean?
Yeah.
That was a bit of a fluke. It wasn't planned at all. I would say sort of the stars aligned. As I said, I've done a bit of alternate history, or I suppose alternate future videos, because back in late 2021 and early 2022, there was a lot of talk about Russia invading Ukraine. And it was basically, I thought, since everybody's talking about it, it would be interesting to see what an alternate Russian invasion of Ukraine would look like. So I made a map and I started working on this little fun experiment video. And a few weeks into that, I woke up one day on the 24th of February and saw the news that Russia is invading Ukraine. So I guess like 10 minutes after waking up, I recorded a video explaining to my audience. I've been working on this video, alternate history. What if Russia invaded Ukraine? And now all of a sudden it's no longer alternate. So I'm gonna publish what I made so far right now, and then I'm just gonna switch to covering what is actually happening in real life here. So like some 24 hours after the initial invasion, I published the video like the first day of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, since I already had the the map ready and all that. There was no initial work that had to be done, and also compared to what I have right now, like the maps were really simple and not very beautiful. But that's how I was able to just publish it. And I believe I was the first person on YouTube to actually map the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
That's really
And
cool.
it got like millions of views, 2 million, I believe. So, and that was way beyond anything I'd had so far. So clearly, I just switched to that and made videos every single day, and it was so popular. And then that wasn't really possible in the long term to do it daily. So I switched to weekly and did that for a couple of months. And then it got a little tedious to only cover one conflict weekly. It was a stable source of content and really interesting, but then I started to cover the Nigerian crisis that was going on in West Africa back in 23, and also the Gaza war, and then Sudan, which is still ongoing, and now I'm working on Myanmar. So it just happened that way. It wasn't planned, and sort of a happy mistake, so to speak.
Did the popularity of the videos like continue to motivate you and look into other conflicts and such?
Yeah, the audience is really appreciative of the coverage, because there's not a lot of people who cover such conflicts regularly, at least not on YouTube. So, and I also enjoy doing it. I like to stay informed. I'm interested in geopolitics and world developments, and this is a very great way for me to stay informed. So it's not only for the audience, but they're certainly the main motivation now. In the beginning, it was just the maps, but now it's majority audience that continues to motivate me, and they are the audience is what enables me to continue after the permanent demonetization by YouTube, and also they're who enables me to expand the content, as making 2 weekly updates on Ukraine and Sudan. So far, it's a lot of work and time, but I still want to expand, and since they are basically funding me, well, literally funding me, I am able to set aside more time to hopefully cover the Myanmar Civil War soon on a weekly basis as well.
I do want to actually inquire, like, why did YouTube permanently like demonetize you? Like, what was that about?
Well, the reason they gave is that my channel glorifies violence. I think lots of people maybe misunderstand it, because, well, I have explained it into detail, but that was a long time ago. So what happened was really silly. I wanted to make well, it started off by me hearing a song about the Wagner Group on YouTube in a vlog, and that inspired me to look into more about like the different types of war music, like modern war music about what's going on in Ukraine. So I made a short video comparing 3 perspectives as to, like, in regards to war music on Ukraine. So I made a short, simple video. One playing a short part of a pro-Ukrainian war song, and then one short part of a pro-Russian war song. And that was fine so far as I understand. But then as a third alternative, I added the pro-Wagner war song. And I uploaded it to YouTube, but I never published it. And then I went to sleep. And then I woke up the next day to like a warning, the first warning that I've received on my channel, and also permanent demonetization, because you're not allowed to glorify the Wagner Group, which is designated as a terrorist organization in lots of Western countries.
Yeah.
And that's the reason. But once again, I want to stress, I never published this video. I've never had warnings before. And nobody ever saw it on YouTube except for me. So, but that was enough for YouTube to say, your channel is glorifying violence. We can't have that. You're no longer allowed to monetize your videos at all. And this decision is permanent. And I spoke to lots of people in the customer service department, and I requested to get contacted by people higher up. And they seem sort of brain dead to logic on that part, because my entire audience knows that this is total bullshit, and the truth is that it is. It's unfair. It's wrong. Now, I understand that you can't really display like content that glorifies the Wagner Group, which is a terrorist organization, but it was meant as a comparative analysis, and it was meant as educational. And also, as I said, I discovered that song on YouTube to begin with. So I had very good reasons to assume that that song was allowed. It was a vlog about a guy who traveled to Donetsk, the Russian occupied part of Donetsk. And as part of that vlog, he said, oh, by the way, I discovered this song. So, and that was allowed. The video is still up. But mine was not allowed. And it might also be because as I played the free songs, I had the Ukrainian flag, the Russian flag, and then also the Wagner symbol in the background while I displayed the lyrics of the songs translated to English. So it might also be that, but I'm fairly certain the Wagner symbol was shown in the blog as well. So yeah, it's really, really strange that there was no warning, nothing like that, but just permanent demonetization just instantly. And it wasn't even published. So that's why I got demonetized.
Yeah,
The
it
long
does
story.
seem vastly unfair, but yeah.
Well, that's YouTube for you.
Yeah,
And
apparently.
once again, like the audience, they really stepped up when this came out, when I talked about it. So they are now funding me 100%. And that's the reason why I've been able to continue. It was really demoralizing at first, and really like a really tough period for me personally, because this was my dream, my passion, what I want to do full time. And now recently that I started like telling people I want to expand, I'm not going to give up. It's such a lovely thing for like regular people to not just want to watch my content and sacrifice time of their day to something that I've created, but now also to actively give money voluntarily for me to be able to keep going. So, you know, I can't really complain. You know, I can complain about YouTube, but on the whole, I would say I'm very privileged to have this audience, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah, no, I think it's very good that you still are able to continue, despite the challenges. Um,
Yeah,
what sort of people do you know what sort of people your audience consists of? Um,
yeah. I've, I have the YouTube Studio app, which displays the statistics. So I have statistics on that, and first of all, it's almost only males for some reason. I think it's something like 94% males. Now, geopolitics is probably more of a male domain, and also YouTube is a more male platform, but still 94% is really strange, and that's a surprising statistics to me. When it comes to countries, it's Americans, Russians, and Europeans mostly. Those three are the majority. But there's also a proportionally, or how do you say, like, well, as the significant amount of people from Brazil, Indonesia, Turkey, and pretty much all Ukraine as well. And when it comes to age, it's mainly 18 to 34. Like that's probably over half. But other than that, you know, we have people from all over the world. I recently, well, not recently, but a few months back, I made a video trying to get an hello from every single province in the world. So I got so many thousands of comments saying hello from Sudan, Philippines, Bolivia, Turkey, whatever. Like, and I filled in every single province, and it looks like more than half of the provinces of the world where I at least have one person that commented from. Well, they said they were from there, but I don't know. So very diverse, although certain groups are bigger than others.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because of that. When I've traveled Europe, I've made posts in my community page saying, "Hi, I'm in Krakow right now. Does anybody like live here and want to show me around?" And some guy came and like, "You got to check out this bar." And also, when I traveled through Ukraine, there was this other YouTuber, Stanislav Ball Mapping, I think his name was, and he was like, "Come to my city, Ivano-Frankivsk," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll come." So I went to his town in Western Ukraine, and he took me around like up into the mountains to a ski resort, and we went to like this ethnographical museum, and his father is fighting on the front lines, and he gave him a military jacket, and he gave me this military jacket. So I met lots of interesting people through my travels because of my YouTube channel, and that's something really unique that I have had a lot of joy because of.
Yeah, no, that does sound really, really nice.
It is.
Yeah. Um, so sort of to get down to a bit more what I'm writing about and the reason for this interview. Um, do you think it's important for people to know and understand the sort of videos you're currently doing? Like, is it important that people are educated about that sort of thing?
Well, certainly staying up to date with the developments of the world and understanding geopolitics are important in order to be able to understand like how and why the world looks like it does right now. I notice certain things in real life that are different or worse or sometimes maybe better because of what's going on, and not well, sometimes also like specifically because of, let's say, Ukraine in particular. Food prices and such are one example, and other commodities, and that's part of an explanation. But so yeah, uh, I am not oblivious to the fact, however, that well, not everybody is going to be interested in this topic. You know, there's lots of really important topics that I myself simply am not interested in, maths and computer science and such. So I don't expect everybody to like be interested if they learned about my channel. But I think it would be better if everybody who could be interested would be interested. And I want my channel to be able to do that for people.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree that like um no, it affects a lot of things. And being able to understand what affects what can I think it's better for a general population. Um,
Certainly.
yeah. Um, if I'm correct, you have 127,000 subscribers?
Sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I'm sort of interested, like, obviously that's all over the world, so, and it's quite spread out. So I was thinking if there was a large, like, proportion of people, like, concentrated, um, let's say, I don't know, I'm in the UK, so if everyone in the UK sort of knew about your channel, for example, or had access to the same sort of information, do you think they would be a lot more interested than what mainstream media is covering? Because mainstream media isn't really covering it that much recently, and they haven't been for the past, since the first year, really. So I'm sort of interested what you think about that.
Well, to be fair, my channel is catering to map nerds, or at least it did from the beginning. Now, since I started covering the contemporary conflicts, I think it's broadened a bit to not just map nerds, but also people who just want to stay informed on currently ongoing conflicts and wars. But my perspective, the mapping perspective that I provide, I don't think it's for everybody. It's sort of a simplification for sure. I don't usually go into great details and give my own analysis, although I have done like those type of videos when I think it's warranted and think it would be interesting to the audience. But well, I'm not entirely sure if I understood your question correctly, but well, my type of content is for a specific type of person, and those are mainly, I think, map nerds usually. So I don't think that if the entire population of the UK could find my videos, I don't think. Well, I think the majority would shrug it off and continue with life. Also, partly because not everybody wants to stay informed about ongoing wars. I've talked to lots of people in real life, and a lot of them say, I can't understand how you can continuously like read about such horrors and not get affected emotionally, personally. And I don't, but other people do. So like staying continuously informed about, let's say, Sudan, for example, which I think is by far the worst place in the world to be right now. And it's a very huge place too, and very populated. It's like Gaza on steroids, I would say. I think part of the reason why we never hear about Sudan in the news is that it's just too horrible to fill the news with, and also it's not geopolitically important enough, um, which is a shame, and a real shame for the mainstream media. But yeah, I just don't think like the people. There's a large population, a large percentage of the population that simply can't handle this type of horrible knowledge all the time. Did I answer your question, or
Yeah,
maybe you want to clarify?
you've given me a new insight towards it, and I think that was probably much more interesting of an answer than I was sort of expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I quite like that answer.
Oh,
Um,
good.
Interesting. Um, Another thing, sort of, I'm wondering is how do you get all your information to do your videos?
Mostly, I have a couple of regular news sources that I check regularly. I try to keep them unbiased or at least balanced. If, for example, I use Russia Today, which is pretty much Russian state propaganda, I try to balance that with the Kiev Independent or something like that, which is pro-Ukrainian. So I check news sources. I also always start with Wikipedia because even though it's simple and not entirely trustworthy, they usually have footnotes leading me to the original source, so it's a good place to start. Also, there are certain other like military vloggers and mappers that I can take inspiration from and like double check. Like, let's say one source says that Sudanese forces have captured this town and no other sources say that, then I can make my own judgment and see like, no, this isn't verified by any other source. A good example of that is Live UA Map, which I know a lot of people already know about. That's not a trustworthy source at all. Well, I shouldn't say at all, but lots of times, if you check the source on a certain event, for example, recently they stated that Sudanese forces retook the tri-point area between Libya, Chad, and Sudan. And then you clicked on the source and it was a single guy who made one Twitter post or X post with no additional information, no sources, and the Live UA Map passed that on as facts. So, of course, I didn't include that. Yeah. So it's a combination of news sources, Wikipedia, map sources that I compile into one, and when it's not clear, when it's not geopolitically verified or verified by a trustworthy source, I have to not guess, but make my own judgment call.
Interesting. Seems slightly more complicated than I was expecting it to be as well.
Certain conflicts are more complicated than others. Sudan isn't mapped very well, so usually I have to, it's a bit more independent decisions there than Ukraine, for example, where I believe hundreds of people map or cover like the conflict in other ways on the regular. So usually, well, even Ukraine is a bit of a gray zone sometimes because it's never as simple as I portray it in my videos that, there's blue and then there's red and that's it. So the situation in Ukraine is that, well, sometimes Russian forces do capture a village, but then they leave and the Ukrainians don't enter that village again for, well, maybe ever. Should I show that village as red or blue? And
Yeah.
what if there's like this thing called the kill zone too, where it's a few kilometers deep, where Russian and Ukrainian drones basically fight it out and dominate the skies, sometimes one side more than the other. And that means that the troops on the ground, they don't have as much control in real life as they do over, say, Moscow or Kiev. Now, they might be there, but it might sometimes be a single soldier. So is that part of Russia or Ukraine then? And then there's also the gray zone, as it's called, which is, well, no man's land, as we learned about when reading about World War One, where there's Russian forces and then there's Ukrainian sources, and in between there might be a few kilometers of land that isn't controlled by anybody. So how do you map that accurately. Well, my solution is that I simplify it. So it's, I guess I sacrifice accuracy for the sake of understandability. Basically, I want the audience to be able to like understand it, but I'm fully aware that you can't accurately map a conflict in a way that gives a fair understanding of what the ground situation is like, obviously. But I don't think that's anything you should strive for either, because the only way to understand, well, not even the soldiers understand, of course. So, sometimes you have to make one sacrifice or the other. And I'm happy with the way I map it, but I don't live under the delusion that my way is the accurate or true way. It's one interpretation, and they all have benefits and cons.
Interesting. I think, yeah, I think your way of doing it is quite interesting. And I think you're right that understandability should probably have some degree of importance over accuracy.
Indeed, you want to get through to a large audience. At least I do. I could write pages about the Sumi incursion, for example, which I did actually. I wrote my bachelor's degree about the Ukrainian incursion into Sumi Oblast in detail. And I gave a very detailed explanation of the reasons behind it, like why Ukrainian forces would go out of their way to open up a new front into a nuclear power and cross a stated red line by Russia. Like, how does it make sense from a military perspective? And the truth is that it didn't make sense from a military perspective, but from a symbolic and moral perspective and a bunch of other factors, it was the right decision, at least at the start. What I'm trying to say is that I wrote, I think, 40 pages, but then I didn't have any maps, and I'm sure you could map it very accurately, but then you can't really write 40 pages and expect people to still like. Different focuses are going to attract different people, and well, being a map nerd myself, I focus on making fairly easily digestible map videos, and that's the audience I focus on, the people who want to see that.
Interesting. I think that's everything I wanted to talk to you about.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for interviewing me. It was fun to talk a
Yeah,
little.
it was very fun. I think I've learnt a lot as well.
I'm glad. Hopefully the people listening in has too.